Hello, I'm Hawk Robinson with RPG Research, and this is a status update as of Friday, September 19th, 2014, on where everything's at in different areas. Trying to eventually establish monthly broadcast discussion meetings, but for now, I'll go ahead with just these monologues until we have other people participating in the broadcasts. The update is probably going to be fairly long, so this will most likely be broken into several shorter videos going forward. A quick overview of what will be covered in this update: the Autism Spectrum group and program plans update I will provide. Also an update on RPG for PTSD and RPG for traumatic brain injury. And then later I will cover my current training, certification, education, and licensing status, as well as a potential web seminar for the American Therapeutic Recreation Association 2015, status on that. Also, where I'm at with current role-playing gaming groups. There's a lot of activity going on there, and there's a lot of offshoots related to that with other videos and reviews and such. A number of people have been asking for more of those. And the new RPG Therapeutics name that I'll be sharing more about. Additionally, looking for Game Master candidates for later potentially implementing these program plans. Right now, it's pretty much just me to implement the program plans, but I hope to have other qualified and skilled Game Masters available. So I'll cover a little bit more about that. And then debate about commercial versus homebrew role-playing game systems for role-playing game therapy. A status update on the gender bias research report that's been going on since last year. So that's what's coming up in today's status update for rpgresearch.com. All right, to begin with, the Autism Spectrum role-playing gaming projects. As you know, earlier this spring, I had developed some activities with other partners through school for using role-playing games for Autism Spectrum toddlers. This is 2.5 to 5-year-olds. And I can't go into too much detail because of the non-disclosure agreement, but that went very nicely. And basically, we did an adaptive live-action role-playing series of activities with a connecting story. Some of the higher functioning to mid-functioning autism spectrum participants did quite well with it, and even the lower functioning ones still enjoyed the activities and benefited from it, even though they didn't necessarily make all the same connections between the different activities. Additionally, there's the youth and adult program plan for the Tacoma area, and I had a meeting with them back in August of 2014 and recently had an email status update on where they are at with various program plans. They've had a lot of other pressures and haven't had a chance to finish reviewing my program plan, but would like me to come back out again in the next few weeks and months to continue to observe the Autism Spectrum group and continue to consider any other adaptations I may need to make for the program plan. And hopefully eventually in the next few months, more likely spring to summer of 2015, get to implement the detailed program plan I have currently in place for them, which I've mentioned in other videos. So that's where that's at, a little bit more progress on that. On the PTSD role-playing games adapted for PTSD candidates, I've been contacted by another veteran that sees the potential use of role-playing games for returning veterans with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I have not been able to get any updates further from Timothy Loya on his progress with his efforts for getting a program underway in the Seattle-Tacoma VA system. I'm still trying to contact him, not sure what's happened there. He had made it through the first hurdle, and the VA hospital had accepted his initial proposal, and he had to go through the next step, and these stages can take months to years. Personally, I need more personal experience, research, and training for me to fully understand how I would modify role-playing game adventures to specifically work through what I understand is the general need for desensitization and reprogramming process that's generally needed for PTSD treatment. I have some familiarity with EMDR, that's eye movement desensitization reprogramming, and other approaches, but I need a lot more training in that area. However, hopefully in coordinating with others, that will progress, and I'll keep posting updates as they happen. On the traumatic brain injury front, there's not a whole lot to report of anything new from the previous updates. I still have the general outline of several program plans, but have not filled out any specific detailed program plans in the detail as I have with the Autism Spectrum programs for Tacoma. I do have the slideshow video online. It's with this channel and on the rpgresearch.com website, providing an example. I'm still hoping I can get an internship at St. Luke's Hospital in a year or two, and hopefully opportunities will then open up for potential use, at least some supervised use. For now, that's still in a holding pattern, although I keep adding a little more documentation to the role-playing game therapeutic recreation professional handbook that is a hypothetical draft that's also on the website if you want to take a look at it as it gets updated from time to time. My current status on training and certification, education, and licensing. This past spring, when I was at the Washington State Therapeutic Recreation Association convention in Spokane and Cheney, they annually go back and forth between the east side of Washington State and then the west side and back and forth. I completed a training and certification in mental health first aid. That's different than regular first aid. It's how to deal with a crisis situation involving some sort of mental health issues. And I'm currently going through the series of videos and testing on HIV, AIDS, and pathogens. I've chose to take the 7-hour version rather than the 4-hour version because this is the first time going through this in this level of detail. I've had some exposure to these topics when I was a certified nursing assistant and a habilitation therapist back in the early 90s, but a lot has changed since then, so I wanted to get a more detailed background. Washington State requires all healthcare workers to go through this certification on HIV, AIDS, and blood pathogens. Periodically have to renew it, and it's fairly straightforward. For recreation therapy registration, to register yourself to call yourself a recreation therapist in Washington State, they only require the 4-hour video, but I'm going ahead with the 7 hours, as I said, to get a more complete background, at least this year around. I hope to have those videos and that certification finished before classes resume on September 24th. I am resuming more classes at Eastern Washington University, as I've been continuing to do part-time. I'm a part-time student, full-time single parent of 3 teenage boys, so that's where the majority of my time goes, but I keep chiseling away at my undergraduate degree. It's an interdisciplinary undergraduate degree in recreation therapy, music therapy, and research psychology. I do hope later on to go to undergraduate degree. I still have about 1 year's worth of therapeutic recreation classes until I complete all the TR requirements, and I still have about 1 year's worth of psychology classes to finish as well. I hope to finish the undergrad degree by end of 2015 or the early part of 2016 again, because I'm going part-time. I am resuming classes middle of next week, and I'll be taking more TR classes this quarter, pretty much every quarter. I'm currently working on registration with Washington State for practice and to be allowed the title of recreation therapist, although I'm not really pushing that aspect. It's more for being able to implement the role-playing game therapy, and it seems that under the TR administrative branch would be the most appropriate. After I finish the degree and internship, I do plan to sit for the NCTRC, that's the National Council for Therapeutic Recreation Certification, to become a CTRS, that's a Certified Therapeutic Recreation Specialist, but that's still a little ways out. There's also something that just popped into my email just today, and I'm waiting for approval from my professor whether it's a good idea or not. There's a call for web seminars at the ATRA 2015 web seminar series. ATRA is the American Therapeutic Recreation Association, and they're asking for topics to consider related to recreation therapy, and so I'm wondering if I could present some of my RPG research related topics on autism spectrum, TBI, PTSD, etc. At least the autism spectrum, which I've actually had some implementation. But first, I have completed the form that they sent to propose a web seminar. I've sent that to my professor to see if I should submit it or not. Since I am still a student and not yet CTRS certified, I'm not sure whether they want students presenting or not, so we'll see what the professor says. If she thinks that it's a good idea to at least get these ideas on the radar, then I will submit that. The deadline is September 28th, so this would be by next week, and I'll provide any status updates on that. These web seminars would be a full lecture, 1-hour lecture, well, 45-minute lecture with slideshows, etc., videos, etc., and then a 10 or 15-minute Q&A discussion. Hopefully this goes through and happens. I'll let you know.